I've got 10k hours on TF2 and 2k hours on Sniper, and in this video I have reduced 12 years worth of sniping experience for you to learn in one small 15-minute video. So I just want to get something straight off my chest before I go into depth of this video. There is no right universal sensitivity. Everyone is different, but if you don't feel comfortable on a certain sensitivity, you need to experiment with it. Try different DPIs and see which one feels the most comfortable. Once you start hitting some shots on a particular sensitivity and think it's a sensitivity that could have potential, start fine-tuning. Well, what do I mean by this? I simply mean adjusting your peripherals such as desk height, mice type, a monitor, till the sensitivity feels even more comfortable. Remember, you are just adjusting your setup to perfect your sensitivity. Simply copying someone's sensitivity isn't going to benefit you. Don't change it and stick to it. Practice until you are confident hitting your 30 to 40% of your shots, whether that be headshots or body shots. But the most important thing is to stick with it. In an ideal world, you want to be hitting 50% of your shots. I personally use 800 DPI at 1.8 in-game sensitivity. The reason why I am so good with this sensitivity is because I haven't changed it for years and I have fine-tuned it based on the height of my desk, my weight of my mouse, and the height of my monitor. There is no reason for you to copy this sensitivity. It would do you no good because you simply do not have my setup. The most important thing about sensitivity is finding your sweet spot and having the peripherals that support this sweet spot. For some mouse settings, you want to go to mouse settings, additional mouse options, go to pointer options, and uncheck enhance pointer precision. By unticking it, you are basically turning off mouse accel off, which is a good thing. If you have it on, your aim will not feel natural and your aim will move as fast as you aim, which is not a good thing. So there's no point in having god tier aim if you are just constantly getting caught out and dying because of where you stand. You need to understand where you are positioned and think about the angle you are watching. Is the angle going to expose your body to many different angles where you could get shot or sniped from? Peaking an angle while covering half of your body is the best way to limit yourself from getting shot at all different directions. Take this for example. Here I'm slow peeking and checking all angles as I peek. It limits myself and makes sure I am safe to keep peeking without getting headshot. Whereas if I don't slow peek and just instantly expose myself, as you can see, my body is now exposed to all these different doors all at once, which is not ideal. Here's another clip where I'm exposed to two different snipers and I want to take both of them out. Because there's a rock next to me, I can hide behind this rock so I can't be seen to the sniper on the right, while still being able to see the sniper on the left. I know that hiding behind this rock, I can kill the sniper on the left without dying to the one on the right. As I kill this sniper, I then go for the second sniper, whereas if I just expose myself and try to kill one, I know I will die. So position yourself and using your environment is crucial if you want to be able to perform on Sniper. Is the angle you are watching a lethal angle where you are able to get a lot of picks without dying? Are you positioned in a spot where you know you are alone? Always snipe with your team and never snipe alone. You'll have protection from spies and jumping soldiers, which are often the classes that would be killing you the most. Are you watching an angle and do you see soldiers, scouts, and other snipers in the same scope all looking at you? It's time to back away and distance yourself. That's usually a good indication you are positioned far too forward. Are you asking your medic for a health buff? Getting a buff from your medics means you will have greater than 150 health, meaning you will be invincible to snipers most of the time, allowing you to win most of your sniper duels. 9 times out of 10, I kill a sniper in casual and he is not buffed. So it's important to receive buffs so that when you get headshot, you don't die. That's why I recommend sniping with your team, because then you will always receive buffs. You also want to make sure that you are always moving. You get a couple of kills, change your location so that the enemy does not know where you are, yet still in a position that is close to your teammates for protection from spies and jumping soldiers and a buff from your medic. You want to be as unpredictable as possible. These are just some of the things that you need to keep in mind while you snipe. But if there are some key points to take away from this section, it is to make sure you always snipe with your team and never snipe alone. Always ask your medic for buffs to ensure you win your sniper versus sniper battles, and always be aware of the classes you see through your scope and the implications they could have on your life if you weren't to switch positions. Generally, there are 3 different aim styles. You have tracking, flicking, and pre-aiming. I personally use a combination of all 3, and that is something I suggest that you do as well. I would always say track 70% of the time, pre-aim 25% of the time, and flick only 5% of the time or when you desperately need to. I'm going to go into depth about each of these aim styles and how you need to perfect and practice each of these if you want to improve on sniper. Tracking is simply following your enemy's movement with your crosshair and is useful when the enemy is moving predictably. You simply just follow their head. You want to be doing this type of aim style for most of your shots. Flick aim is what it means. You basically flick your mouse. But you only want to be flicking if the enemy is jumping or when the enemy is moving in unpredictable patterns. I find that if someone jumps, flicking to their head is easier to land the headshot rather than any other aim style such as tracking. Flicking is something that should be considered as a last resort type of situation, or in a situation you can't perform a track or pre-aim in dire situations, such as a scout rushing you at point blank range. Pre-aiming is essentially aiming at where you think the enemy will be. You see an enemy, you place your crosshair where you think they will move into, and you shoot once their head lands over your crosshair. I like to call this as the lazy aim style. For those snipers who are lazy and don't want to track, this is a suitable choice and it's honestly quite reliable. However, with these 3 aim styles, you will find yourself in scenarios where you'll need to perform all 3 of them. Perfecting all 3 is essential if you want to improve, and I suggest mastering your tracking aim before you move on to flicking and pre-aiming. I'm going to go against the common belief amongst most YouTube snipers and claim that movement is not as important as your positioning and aim. Yes, having good movement is ideal when you are in dire situations and you need to strafe and get out, but if you play sniper correctly, which is with your team and always being aware of the enemy's location, having good movement is not super important. In most cases, you won't need to rely on your movement to perform good on sniper. The only real reason you need to have good movement on sniper is to be able to perform jumps to get to certain spots or to strafe around something, which is not something you would normally do on sniper unless you're getting chased by a scout or jumped by a soldier, which in most cases you would be dead either way. That's why it's not a determining factor on whether you'll be good at sniper. Your aim and positioning, however, is. Over the last 12 years, I have come out with the perfect ideal settings that I believe enhance my sniper gameplay, and I want to share them over to you. So I have attached my config file somewhere in the description, or I have pinned it to the comment section down below. The first thing I want to talk about that no other sniper talks about is the comparison between the DX8 and DX9. I find that sniping in DX8 is much more smooth, clear, and easy to see than DX9. I want to show you the difference between the sniper scope in DX8 and 9 in these 2 examples here. You can see that everything is much more clear and easier to see in DX8. The sniper scope in DX9 has this yellowish tingy color, which I find to be extremely distracting while I snipe. It's also got this very distorted type of visual effect that I'm not fond of. Players and enemies simply stand out a lot more in DX8. I always snipe with my view model off. I know this is a personal preference kind of thing, but having view models off is just something that I've played with for the majority of my time as sniper. For me, it just removes the unnecessary clutter from the screen, which allows me to see more, and perhaps it might do the same for you. To turn view models off, you simply type into console r_draw view model space 0. To turn it back on, you replace the 0 with a 1. I also use flat textures. For me, it makes a huge contrast between enemies and their environment, which allows me to spot them much more easier. You would think that it would increase my FPS, but actually it doesn't. In actual fact, it's the same as I get without using it. I simply use it because it makes killing and spotting enemies that much easier. Again, this is personal preference. I like to use what I call flat mouse, which means I have a stable input with no mouse acceleration and a 1:1 zoom sensitivity for my sniper scope. This makes sure my aim is exactly where I move my mouse and ensures my aim is smooth. I also use a config called master config, where you can choose your quality presets and customize your modules, binds, and weapons for each class. It is by far the best way to customize your TF2 to your liking. My config down below will have everything you need, so you don't have to do all of this. However, if you would like to customize your sniper settings, I strongly suggest master config. I will link their website in the description down below. I'm going to be straight up and honest with you. Having a good monitor with at least 144Hz refresh rate and a light mouse certainly enhanced my skills. By no means am I saying that these peripherals turned me into the player I am now overnight, but what I am saying is that if you already have the skills as sniper, buying new hardware will mean those skills will actually be rewarded more easily. But because this is a sniper guide, I'm going to guide you into the right direction and tell me what worked for me. I have used the Logitech G Pro wireless for a long time and recently made the switch to the Aerox 3 Steel series. It's 59 grams and it's perfect to my hand size. It feels a lot more easier to aim on a light mouse. I can say that a lot of people would arguably agree with me on this. A gaming desk, chair and mouse pad is not as important as a good 144Hz monitor and a mouse that fits your hand dimensions and satisfaction. If you have mid to large hands, I suggest purchasing the G Pro Wireless Ultralight or Ultralight 2. It's an amazing mouse and it's very light. If you are not into light mice, I suggest buying the Logitech G Pro Wireless. Small hands or prefer a claw grip, I suggest a smaller mouse like the one I'm using now, the Aerox 3 Wireless by Steel series. When you're looking for a monitor to purchase specifically for gaming, don't go any lower than 144Hz. I can't emphasize enough how much of a difference it is when you go from 60 to 144Hz. The difference is like night and day. I wouldn't worry too much about the other specs of the monitor. You really only want to be focusing on the hertz. Down in the description below, I will link all of the peripherals that I use so you have an idea of my setup. I still encourage you to find what works best for you. Some things that work for me may not work for you. Practice is the most important aspect of improving. No point in buying expensive monitors, mice, keyboards, configuring your game if you aren't actually going to take the time to improve. So exactly how do you practice on Sniper? Playing casual non-stop and aiming at bots on TR Walkway is a good start. TR Walkway is a map used for practicing your classes. You can configure how the bots run and what their movement should be, and you can use it to practice your aim. You shouldn't spend too much time in this as nothing beats casual practice. Remember my points previously about positioning and aim style. I want you to practice your tracking first and then start incorporating flick aiming to unpredictable movements and then obviously pre-aim. Keep in mind what I said about positioning. Position yourself next to your team, nearby your medic, receiving those buffs to win your sniper duels and at the same time being protected from spires. Use your environment to your advantage and don't expose yourself to many different players. Limit your exposure and change locations after every sniper kills. I know it's a lot and it might be overwhelming, but you just need to put in the time to get better. This applies to anything in life. Eventually you will get better at the thing you are practicing, no matter what it is. Never underestimate yourself. You can't go into a casual server and expect to start pounding after watching this guide. You need to put in the time and apply everything I've said during the video.